Hi everybody, this is the host, aka Host 1.
And the co-host, aka Host 2 here. Just a few quick words before we jump into the episode.
If you're a new listener, here's how the show works. We typically will spend about 5% of the episode at the beginning and the end talking about a motivational related topic, and then the other 95% of the episode is a ton of comedy in between.
We'd appreciate it if you could please like, subscribe, and share the show with other people. Feel free to leave us a comment wherever you're listening or send an email to facetodaypodcast@gmail.com.
Now, back to the episode. Welcome, everyone, to the Face the Day podcast. And to be honest with everyone listening out there, my co-host and I, we didn't know when the best time would be to start this podcast. However, we figured that if we didn't start it, we would just never, ever start it in general. So we just decided to record and get it going. And here's my my co-host to have a few words before I rant too long.
That's right, my friend. The best time to start is now. And the best time to start also was yesterday. Today we bring to you a collection of thoughts and ideas that we think you can use to better yourself.
Yes, and just because this is called Face the Day does not mean it's a self-help motivational podcast. However, you may find things within this that, you use to help yourself along the way.
And at the very least, you will have a laugh. We can guarantee it.
Yes, we can. Now, some of the things we talk about, you may not fully understand the concept behind them or understand why we're talking about them, but to be honest, that's life, isn't it?
That is life. We all have ideas, we all have thoughts, and sometimes it takes two to really bring the most out of those thoughts, to flesh them out. And we have a series of absolutely hilarious tweets that we want to read to you and kind of riff off of. See what you think. See what we think.
Now, some of these things aren't exactly all tweets. However, by saying tweets, sometimes we might mean thoughts. Whether they're typed out or not. Anyhow, my co-host, I must say something here. And my first question to you would be...
Yes.
Let me ask you something real quick. Due to the COVID and everyone working remotely, there has been an increase in the amount of exclamation marks that coworkers have been expressing to one another through typing amidst the remote co-working. And do you find this to be annoying or do you accept it?
Great question.
Great question.
You know what? The very first thought that popped into my head was that the better the friend, the less exclamation points we use. My best friends, including my co-host here, I rarely use exclamation points. I don't know why, but if I do, then it's because it's sincere. But I will never put an insincere exclamation mark with my best friends.
Like, there are people I work with, and they have the personalities of a period, but they're using exclamation marks. And to be honest, co-host, I don't like it. It's not real, and I'm sick of it.
I don't blame you, man. It's not real. And it's the realness that we crave. It's the realness is the reason we do this podcast. It is
the realness that we crave, and this leads to the next question. Why do dogs like to run away?
Oh, well, that's an age-old question.
They have great homes, warmth. Even the dogs that live in the cold environments,
they love to run away.
Sorry, the dogs live in the cold environments. They're living in warm homes. They have good food. They have good families, good houses. But yet, whenever the door opens and the air is in front of them, they will run away. And what is the answer? And why does this happen?
Great question. Again, I really think that it comes down to training, especially with dogs. Now, with cats will wander, and sometimes they'll find their way back, and sometimes they don't. With dogs, if they truly want to escape, well, then maybe you were never their master.
Now, let me ask you another question.
Okay.
On another subject, why does every article on the internet not tell you how long and how many minutes it's going to take to read?
Well,
why does this not happen to every article out there?
Well, I would think that most readers read at different paces. Maybe that's why. Maybe the algorithm doesn't know.
But wouldn't you say that most people, before they read an article, would appreciate knowing how long it's going to take to read? And why doesn't this happen in more places?
Absolutely. You're right. It should. I know that Medium.com does a great job of estimating the read time.
Hey, you know what, co-host? We got to be careful because we're not being sponsored by anyone. We got to be careful not to drop any actual names of companies or websites here. So let me ask you another question. I was driving around, just on a side note for anyone listening out there, my co-host and I were both delivery drivers in one way or another. So we both hit the road. We both made some deliveries for various platforms out there. We won't say the names. There's been various platforms that we delivered food for, but we won't say the names of the companies because we're not being paid by any of them. However, note for anyone listening out there, if anyone wants to pay us, we'll gladly accept the endorsement money. Yep, but anyways, when you're driving around in the wintertime, we both live in a place called Chicago, and from what I've noticed, when you're on the road and the road is covered by snow, it's very difficult to see speed bumps. And what I'm trying to say to you, co-host, is that people underestimate and rarely discuss how dangerous it is to drive on roads that are covered by snow and have speed bumps on them. What are your thoughts on that one?
Fascinating question. Fascinating point. Growing up in the Midwest.
Let me rephrase this real quick before you speak. All the hype comes from the potholes.
The potholes.
But
the potholes are infuriating.
No one ever discusses speed bumps.
Infuriating. Yes. Well, you know
Why?
Here's the thing. Let me tell you what's happened to me before. I have legitimately broken parts of my engine going over a speed bump way too fast. And that's when it's dry and clear out.
Yes.
Now you throw in the snow and all of a sudden you have a recipe for disaster. Maybe they can put little flares or something on, or automatic flares on these speed bumps, because that is a real concern, because you hit that speed bump too hard and you're going to take it to the mechanic a couple days later because your engine light's going to go on and all of a sudden your car doesn't work well. And you know what happened? You probably hit a speed bump too hard.
Yes, I completely agree. And this is why I asked this question. Now, this leads me to my next question, co-host, is that during COVID, one of the greatest mysteries to come upon us is there's a lot of attractive girls out there, and unfortunately we do not know if they're actually attractive or not because the mask covers their mouth.
The mask.
And
we don't know.
We don't know. Do they have jacked up teeth? Are their mouths looking normal or not?
We don't know.
What is the answer? And then another question I have for you, co-host. Why do we have to wear a mask when we walk into a restaurant or into a public place, but when we sit down, we don't have to? But we're literally in the same exact place. So what is your answer to that?
Thank you, co-host. That is a great point. And now we're getting into some controversial
We're all
territory.
breathing the same air.
We're all breathing the same air.
We're all breathing the same air.
The science is very conflicted. Now, we can all look at one way or another way, but really, we're taking our mask off when we get to our seat, but we're still not socially distanced because there's a table that's 4 feet away, or 3 feet away, or 5 feet away. But this gets into too much here. Let's go back to the masks.
Now, let's go back to the mask. And I have another question for you. Speaking about masks, because technically, some of these people used to wear masks before COVID, but they're not anymore. And my question for you, co-host, is have you ever watched referees during a basketball game instead of the players?
Yes. Oh, well, have you?
I have. And it really changes the game. Unless you're betting on the game and you really want to see the outcome and the score and you're like, going crazy by every basket. One of the most interesting things you can do when you're watching a sporting event is watch the referees.
Yes.
Because they are working.
They are. They're working hard.
They are working for a paycheck. They are making money. And they are not playing the game.
So
However, they're running up and down the court or running up and down the field.
They are.
They are, Dan. The man. Sam I am. Do I like to eat green eggs and ham? Now, the reason I said that is because tax season is coming up and we owe Uncle Sam some money, right?
Oh, yes.
Before you answer, though, I have got a question for you. Because to be blatantly honest with you, I don't care about taxes. I hate taxes, but I don't want to talk about them with you.
Well, me too. Taxes are a complicated subject, a very controversial subject for some, for many. So,
Yes, sir. Dan noodles, like in Japan, we like to eat Dan noodles. But when it comes to the Japanese and when it comes to different countries fighting against the U.S., something I've actually always wondered for a while, to my great co-host here, is what happened when army generals drank a lot and then got really hungover? Did they just chill the next day, or did they keep planning for battle?
wow.
If you had to guess, what? Maybe you have an answer that I don't know of.
You know what? I have a couple different answers to that. And we can
Yeah.
go back to the Civil War, and we can talk about Grant and Lee. But I'm going to go actually to the Second World War and talk about General MacArthur. Now, he was eventually fired by President Truman, yes, because MacArthur was known for his predilection to the drink.
Okay.
And he drunk pretty hard. He had a lot of thoughts about the current, at the end of the Second World War. He didn't like the current President Truman, who took over for Roosevelt. And Truman had to come in and fire his ass. And probably he was, MacArthur, that general was hungover as hell. That he loved to drink, and you know what? He fucked shit up for himself.
That's a great answer, co-host. I've always wondered, like, you know, we like to drink ourselves, you know. We like to throw a few back here and there, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's tequila, vodka, whiskey, beer, wine, rum, you know. Sometimes I buy some good rum and it's just really good. Sometimes it's 150 proof and I don't know what I'm doing the next day. But if I was a general in the army, would I like to plan for a battle the next day? I don't know because I wasn't alive in the 1910s. But anyways, to our next question. I'm alive during the TikTok days, not the war days.
Not the
you
war
know,
days, the
I'm
TikTok
spoiled.
wars.
You know, I wake up and I eat my Aussie bites from Costco, and I don't have to make fucking coffee from the fire pot like the generals. You know. But
yes, sir.
there's just serious questions
sir.
we have to ask here, and next I have to ask you, sir, is what is worse, a person with bad breath or bad BO?
That's a good question. I'm sorry. If
I know it's a good question. That's why I asked you.
Oh, I'm sorry if my breath has been bad here. I'm sorry if my
No, it
breath
has
been
nothing to
bad.
do with your breath.
Bad breath or bad BO?
If you're sitting next to someone on the subway and you're in a discussion with them and they're wearing a sleeveless shirt but they're also talking to you, what is worse, bad breath or bad BO?
Ooh, that's a great one. You know, in that situation, you have the worst of both worlds. You got someone who's reeking from the BO and reeking from their breath.
So answer the question. Sorry.
The question, I don't know. I would think that the breath is more in your face, but the BO takes over your being. What do you think?
I think this is a question that eventually, once we grow this podcast, we would need to ask the audience. And for now, I think we're just gonna have to take it that we don't know the answer.
We don't know. The world will never know.
You know,
they both are bad.
If
you
this
have bad-
podcast, if this podcast does grow and blows up one day, we would like to ask the audience. For anyone listening out there, you know, hopefully you're listening and hopefully you're shouting at your screen right now. The answer.
You should be shouting at your screen because we want you to shout at your
Now,
screen.
next question, Mr. Co-host, is if you had to guess, which of these made the most money? Furbies, Pogs, Magic Sticks, Magic Cards, Beanie Babies,
Oh.
Tamagotchi, Pokemon cards, or yo-yos?
Well, my friend,
Would you like me to recite the options again?
one more time.
Okay, I would glad to be too. Well, I just said that in a very British way, even though I'm not British.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
You know what? I can't even speak in a British accent if I wanted to.
Let me just say that Mrs. Doubtfire.
I have no British friends.
Robin Williams named her Eugenia Doubtfire, which was huge of vagina.
Why do British people say bloody?
Bloody, I don't know, mate. What do they say, mate?
They say mate, they say bloody, and whenever you're watching a video on silent from a British person, you can't understand if they're speaking in a British accent or not.
You know, Kat, and you know what? We're just a bunch of dumb Americans here trying to give our takes on different accents.
But everyone looks the same. British people, American people. You know what? Who doesn't look like the same? Asian people and people from Africa. Because they have different skin tones and different looks.
Now they have South Africa. That's a whole nother different... South Africa
We
has their
will
own
pump the
accent.
brakes before anything racist is said. All right, so now... that's a joke.
Just a joke.
Okay, it's a joke. Now, the question for you, Mr. Co-host again, is which made the most money? Furbies, Pogs, Magic Sticks, Magic Cards, Beanie Babies, Tamagotchi, Pokemon cards, or yo-yos?
Great question. Phenomenal
Yes,
question.
great question, that's why I asked.
Now, Beanie Babies were very valuable back in the day.
They were, but how much?
Now we're going British accent for the whole thing.
But I'm speaking in half British accent.
Well, let me say.
Accent from Angola, Africa.
Oh, my Lord.
I was once there on the beach in 1958.
I'm going to pull it back to the American accent here because that's where we're from. And if we get too far away from it, we're never come back. Anyway, let me get the point across here.
Let's get the point.
Magic the Gathering. That was one of the options. Magic the MTG cards are worth quite a bit of money, I'm told. Of all the things that were listed, if you have certain MTG cards, you can sell them for a pretty penny. So go into your closets if you're listening, or talk to your nerdy ass friends. They'll give you a card or two and you can sell it.
Okay, for anyone listening out there, we will do the due diligence later, and we will find out for sure which of those made the most money. But my co-host says Magic cards made the most.
Could be.
So next on the list, my superb co-host is... Have you realized that no one in existence in the world knows how to spell the word handkerchief?
Oh.
No one knows.
Now, is it handkerchief or handkerchief?
No one listening to this podcast right now can literally put a pen to the pad and spell the word handkerchief.
Oh, no, I could not even try.
For $1 million, can you spell the word handkerchief right now?
Let's go. Hanker, H-A-N...
Spell it right now.
Hanker,
No looking it up.
H-A-N-D
No
or
cheating.
H-A-N-K? H-A-N-K-I-E-F-R, chief, C-H-I-E-F.
Wrong!
No!
Wrong! Wrong! Who cares? Because it's a fucking handkerchief. And people blow their noses and their sneezes into them, and it just doesn't matter, co-host. Okay, now my next question to you is... Have you ever been to a grocery store or a CVS, Walgreens, anything, and you've seen one of those Coinstar things?
Coinstar, I'm not familiar.
I'm not talking about Coinbase with the Bitcoin. I don't care about Bitcoin. I don't like it.
Bitcoin.
We can talk about Bitcoin later. It's so trendy. I know it's so trendy.
No.
It's so trendy. We
Shitcoins.
might need to discuss Bitcoin sometime soon. It's so trendy, but
So trendy.
this question is not about Bitcoin.
Coinbase is what?
Coinbase is not what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about Coinstar.
Coinstar.
What is Coinstar?
Coinstar is a machine that's often found at the grocery stores and the drug stores, and it's a machine that you pour your change into, and you get either dollar bills out of or receipts that you change in for dollar bills.
Well, great question. But I mean, who's our audience? A bunch of homeless people collecting cans?
I don't care. My question for you, co-host, is how the fuck do you know the change that you're pouring into a Coinstar is actually accurate from what they tell you?
The change?
What would be your response?
What would
You go to a Coinstar machine, you pour a gigantic bunch of change that you've been saving for years and years and years, sometimes months, it doesn't matter. You bring the receipt up to what it tells you to the cash register, and how do you know it's accurate? How do you know that Coinstar is not scheming?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know who owns the machine.
If this podcast ever blows up and the CEO of Coinstar listening to this, just know we are on to you.
Don't know. And yeah, man, we are just a Sean Paul. We sound like a career. We are now.
No. We are on to you, the CEO of Coinstar, because
We on to you.
This is getting out of control. We know that it's not accurate.
Something's up. Something is up.
Now, one of the final questions of this episode, because we're nearing on 20 minutes. By the way, for anyone listening out there, my co-host and I have made a dedication to not go much past 20 minutes for these episodes. Because we know people have short attention spans, and they're walking, they're running, they're in the car, they might be going to the loo. They might be having a tea date with their friends. And 20 minutes is very acceptable for a nice little episode to listen to the things. So
yes.
my question my last question for you, co-host, is it has to do with remote working and along the lines of the exclamation points, but it's a little bit different. And do you have anything to say about coworkers or people? My thing is like when I write an email, sometimes I'll look over it a few times and I'll send it. But my question for everyone out there is, anyone that's sending an email to the people they're working with, how many times are you going to proofread and read over the email that you're about to send before you click send?
Great question.
How many times do you think people are proofreading and reading over that before they hit the word send?
Not enough.
I think they're doing it too much.
Oh, well,
just send the fucking email.
Well, that's
just send it.
Either
you're sending it to the high ups in the company. You're sending it to people. They're going to judge every single word and grammar and every single thing you're writing.
The grammar
Nazi.
Well,
just send the email. How many times are you going to proofread that?
You get emails that are either full of grammatical errors, or you get emails that are too perfect and they're boring. They need the edge. We want the edge.
Oh man, just send the email. How many times are you going to proofread that email over and over before you send it?
And over.
Just send the email.
Send that email.
Send the email.
Just press send. Just press
send. Send it.
Send it. Full send.
Don't read it again because the person you're sending it to probably won't even read it or care.
They won't even care. They read one line.
They won't care. Okay, everyone. Okay. This has been the first episode of Face the Day.
First episode.
My co-host and I greatly appreciate you listening to our rants about everything in life.
Yes.
And hopefully you'll tune into the future episodes. And if you have any feedback, please feel free to reach out. And have a great rest of your day, night, or shall we say afternoon?
We'll say it all. We'll take it all. Love you all.
Love you all and face the day.